Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. Josh Lander, your host, as always, taking you through a little two-game slate here on Thursday in the NBA tonight. There are two games, like I said. 76ers are in Milwaukee taking on the Bucks. Also got the Suns at the Lakers, and should mention that Bradley Beal and now Devin Booker are both likely not going to be playing in this game. So we'll see how we can take advantage of that. What you can expect on today's show, we're going to take a look at how we did on Wednesday night, some best bets that we have for you here, a Lander ladder, and then I have a most improved player in the league bet that I'll be bringing you. I put that out on Twitter last night as I was watching some of these games, and I just was like, I've seen enough. I'm going to go ahead and take a nice 40-1 on this young gentleman to go ahead and be the most improved player in the NBA this season. I'll run through that last with you guys. Should mention, too, that the Lander ladder is what I'll be giving away here, the highest point of that ladder. If it does hit for the 0.2 units I've got on it, it's a nice 10-1 payout, so that should be decent for anyone who'd like to make a couple $100 if that bet specifically should hit as a part of that Lander ladder there. Didn't have a parlay for the people for this one, to be honest with you. Just didn't really want to try to force something in a same game parlay. There wasn't really much in terms of the SGP Plus, which is on FanDuel, where you can go ahead and take two bets from one game and then one bet from another game. So it's more of like a same game parlay plus one bet from a different game. That's not something I wanted to do either tonight with the two game slate. So we'll hand out the ladder at the highest peak, like I said, if we can go ahead and win that one tonight. How we did last night, not great. 2-6, lost 3.4 units. Gonna be honest, Wemby's foul trouble kind of put a wrench in the night, put a huge wrench in the night. And a couple other bets came up literally half of a point or what have you, rebound shy of coming up, including Franz Wagner, who did not hit last night. He had 22. We needed him to get 23 points and rebounds combined. And then Kuzma, I should have just gone the points and rebounds in that one. I'll be better. I don't know why I second guessed myself and took the rebounds for plus money. I don't need to get greedy. Like, don't eat the juice and take the win. That's the lesson here for the day as we move forward. So we'll go ahead and do that here, kicking things off with our best bets. So let's go ahead and get into the first best bet I have for you guys here. And it is Brolo. I love Brolo, man. I mean, I don't know if you've been following for the last couple of years on the lines.com and the NBA Coast to Coast show I have there with my co-host Nate Weitzer. That is something. This is a player I love. I'm going to take Brolo whenever I see a ripe opportunity. And this is a good one for him to get over 13.5 points. That's minus 105 on DraftKings for a full unit. He has gone over this in 7 of his last 8 versus Philadelphia. And that is for a good reason. He has played, I'll tell you about that reason, just 1 second. He's played 32.5 minutes against Embiid in 5 of those 8 games. So in the last 8 against Philly, Embiid has played in 5 of them. In the 5 that Embiid has played, he's gone 32.5 minutes. In the 3 that Embiid has not played, he's gone 26 minutes per game. Why? Because he's just going to follow Embiid's minutes. He needs to be the primary defender on Joel Embiid. And because we know that, we can play off of that pretty handily with a few different props for Brolo. So I don't have it listed here on YouTube for those watching on the screen, but I will say that I'm also going to hit him at over 1.5 3-pointers in this game. It feels like a sucker's bet. They're giving us plus money for Brolo to hit 2 threes. He might not get the same volume that he's had with Dame Lillard around. I get that. However, I also understand that Chris Middleton is on a minutes restriction, and I know that Brolo's going to be out there and soak up usage no matter what because of the fact that he has to guard the best player on the 76ers and Joel Embiid. His last 2 versus Philly, he's gotten 24 points per game in those, and he's just out there to defend and shoot. He also needs to pull Embiid from the basket. That's why the 3-point attempts remain there for Brolo. I can see him easily getting 6 3-point attempts in this game. So if you're going to give me plus money for him to go 33% from the 3-point line, great, because he does better than that in his career anyway, especially over the last 8 seasons since he started shooting threes or so. So Brolo to go over 13.5 points, basically for even money, full unit. Going to put a half unit on the threes as well. Over 1.5 is plus 155 on DraftKings for those following along. So let's get to best bet number 2 here. And I am going to be talking about Damian Lillard. I'm going to have him go over 7.5 assists in this one, plus 105 on DraftKings, full unit on that for Dame to get the assists. And once again, conferred with my man, Kareem Khalil, to see if he believed in what I was saying about the assists for Dame Lillard. And he also agreed he loves assists for Dame in his opener with the team in the regular season. Let's just start with the matchup. His last 2 versus Philly, 23.5 points per game, 11 assists per game. Right there, never got over the 26.5 points that he's got on his line tonight, by the way. I would lean under 26.5 points for Dame for those with the chutzpah to go ahead and hit an under on Damian Lillard points at 26.5. this is where I would do it, is just the opening night where I think he's going to be a little bit more humble. And I also think that there's a reason he's gone under that total in points and over on assists in his last 2 games versus Philly last year, because Joel Embiid is there. It's not that hard. Joel Embiid in front of basket and is very big and good defender. Dame Lillard, not very big, not really worth it to take his chances at the rim. Why don't I just kick out at that point and get some assists? And he's going to be able to do that more easily than he ever has. This is the best team that he's ever had without question. I understand that they might be lacking in shooters at times on the court, but you're going to have, with Chris Middleton not out there as much, not as good of an offensive player, but all over the floor. You've still got Bobby Poe as your backup big up for that lineup. Robin Lopez is going to come off the bench here and there as well to relieve his brother in some minutes. But like either way, there's just so much for Dame to do with the ball in his hands in the pick and roll where he's going to be doing that. That's the offense every time. That's the number one play that this team has to run consistently is Dame Lillard, one of the best pick and roll point guards of all time, doing it with one of the best rollers of all time in Giannis Antetokounmpo. So you add the fact that Philly's got a top 5 defense versus threes. I do think that they can continue to limit him. DeAnthony Melton is going to get a ton of time, which means there's going to be no James Harden guarding Dame for him to get any easy buckets. It's going to be tough coming around screens and pulling when you've got a lot of guys that are going to be searching for him. We'll see how teams defend against this pick and roll that will have Giannis flying to the rim. If Embiid is on Giannis, it does lead to Dame shooting more, as he'll drop down on that pick and roll more than other guys. But I think you have to hedge on Dame no matter who you are. And if Embiid continues to get beat by Dame shooting threes off of that pick and roll, he's not going to guard Giannis anymore. It's just that simple. And I don't know that he guards Giannis anyway, to be honest. Seems like a PJ Tucker job. So he'll have to hedge out and then rely on Embiid at the back of that defense. But I like Dame to continue to get the assists, and I'm gonna ride with him for over 7.5 or plus money tonight in that one. Let's go to the third best bet here before we get to my ladder, and that is Mr. Embiid to also get assists. And although I don't have an official parlay for the people for you today, if I were going to parlay 2 things together here for a nice payout, I would take Embiid and Dame combining their overs on assists in this one. There's a lot to like for why Embiid is going to get assists tonight. Let's start with the fact that he does this against Milwaukee and some of the game theory that comes into play for why he does it so consistently against Milwaukee. 5+ assists in 5 of his last 6 versus the Bucks. Why is that? Brian Windhorst. Let's think about that. Why is that? Because Milwaukee double teams the majority of the time. They double team a lot anyway. They have long, rangy defenders. Coach Bood, who's no longer there anymore, doesn't matter. His strategy of double teaming and trapping guys and not letting anybody get anything around the rim has worked on defense for this team consistently. I think new coach Adrian Griffin continues to double team other big guys, especially the best player on this team, who's head and shoulders above the rest of the guys on his squad at this point, especially with Harden out in terms of offensive talent. They're going to double him. That's going to continue to happen. They also allow Milwaukee, further proof, by the way, that they double team big guys a lot. They allow the 6th most assists per game to centers, not just last season. The season before, they also allowed the 6th most assists per game to opposing centers. And no James Harden equals more Embiid assists. It's very simple. With James Harden last year, Joel Embiid averaged 3 assists per game. Without James Harden, he averaged 6.5 assists per game. That gets us comfortably over the 4.5 we need for him to get us plus money for 1 unit on that one. So let's close it out with the Landa Ladder. And I'm going back to Dame. I'm just going to repeat myself here. Damian Lillard, assist ladder. The top of that ladder. Ooh, this is an incorrectly placed graphic for those watching on YouTube. The juice is much better. The over for Dame assists, 7.5. You already know we took that for plus money. The 10+ assists for Dame is at plus 145. Plus 320. All right. So the 10+ assists for Dame is at plus 320. The 12+ assists for Dame is at plus 265. We're going to put 0.1 units on the 12+ assists. I lied to you again. We're going to put 0.2 units on that for the 12+ assists because I want to get that payout to $200. So 10-1, Dame 12+ assists, $20 on it. If you like and subscribe to the YouTube page, if you follow the podcast and you rate it as well, gonna go ahead and give you that money after I throw a few of you and your names into that randomizer that I have. Spit one of you out, throw you the $200. I'll get your Venmo. Just make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube page. Make sure that you like this video. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure that you rate and that you are following along on the podcast, and definitely need to rate it. Give it 5 stars. I'm not giving anybody $200 for giving me 4 stars here. So do all of that, and I will go ahead and hit you with the $200 as soon as Dame hits 12 assists for us tonight in this one. So we'll see if he can get it there. But like I said, the over 7 rather for the base of the ladder. Then we'll go up a rung to 10 assists to get us at plus 320. Like I said, ignore this graphic, YouTube viewers. And then the 12 plus assists at plus 1,000 for 0.2 units. So this graphic is worthless other than the fact that Damian Lillard is on it and it says Lander ladder. Other than that, we move on to this bet here. And I'm going to close out the show with something that I told you guys about. If you're following along on Twitter at JL Boogie, land your bets there on Twitter. What I told you about was most improved player of the year. Why didn't I see that Devin Vassell was going to be the most improved player of the year? I've been trying to cash in on some Spurs fun. It was so fun to watch Wemby for a quarter when he had 9 points in the fourth last night because he was in foul trouble for the whole game. We couldn't enjoy it. But you know who was good for the whole freaking game? Devin Vassell. And there's something about a guy that comes out in that fashion and is like, yo, I'm him. I hate that phrase because I'm too old to appreciate it. But that is who he is. He is him. He's the dude who is the best offensive player on the floor, not named Victor Wembanyama, obviously going to be the best player on his team when he's on the floor at the ripe age of 19 years old. I'm not worried about that. But for Vassell, most improved is going to be pretty easy because they didn't play him last year. And then they signed him to a 4-year deal. That's pretty good money for a good player, but a guy who hasn't proven anything. So they know that they like him. They know that he's a player that is capable of breaking out and scoring 20 a game. And that's why they felt completely confident in paying Devin Vassell, despite the fact that they hadn't seen him do it that much on the floor. In the short bursts and small sample sizes of him being a good player, especially on offense, an incredible shooter off the dribble, When he rises up to shoot, he's above a lot of dudes trying to guard him, and he's not that tall. So it's very impressive what he's able to do. Watching him do that with that level of confidence, I mean, it's not an incredible Mavs defense by any means or stretch of the imagination, but there's some dudes out there. They started Derrick Jones Jr. for a reason, so that he could play defense much better than what they had out there for the Mavs. And he still cooked. He still got cooked. Everybody did by Devin Vassell when he was out there. I love the confidence that I see when I see him going up and shooting with a hand in his face, 2-pointers, 3-pointers from wherever he is, and also going to the rack. It's like, okay, this dude's like proving that he's not scared of anything. He might not have the same luck against better defensive teams. I understand that, but he'll still be good enough, I think, for almost, if not 20 points a game. And coming off a season where he averaged like 5 less than that, 6 less than that, and was barely playing because of the Spurs rotation and tanking, I think Devin Vassell is a good bet to surprise a lot of people this year, and go ahead and got him for 40-1 on FanDuel as most improved player. That was the best odds. Obviously, last night during the game when I hit that, the games were still going on, so DraftKings suspended their awards market. But on FanDuel, I know it was 40-1. If you get a better price than that, hit it. I think it's down to 35-1 now on FanDuel. So my EV is climbing, y'all. But that is all the time that I have for you in this one. And want to remind you to like and subscribe, as I said, all that good stuff. We'll hope to get a little bit better than we did on Wednesday night with that big slate. This little one, I had a lot more time to look at, just 2 games. So I feel really good about these bets. Ride along. Hope to be able to hand out the top of that ladder for Dame tonight. Until I talk to you next, happy betting.